Now that the withdrawal has been released, new evidence led me to make this theory. Before I start, however, I must declare my previous theory was somewhat wrong. The SCRS wasn't the next mission. When Suchata released the teaser for this mission, the file was titled Sacramento CRS Teaser. He claimed this was an accident and he didn't know file names were visible. I thought this sounded convincing, but as we now know, it was just a trick. The story is more complex than I thought. I expected the story to follow a more linear pattern, where Halcyon and the protagonist defeat Phoenix. Although I considered the possibility of betrayal, I didn't think it was likely. As we'll see later on in this theory, I heavily underestimated Phoenix's chances of winning. The most striking difference in the withdrawal is the new mission coordinator. When I first played the withdrawal, I suspected the mission coordinator would be Jackdaw. As the new cutscene, Payoff, confirms, we are indeed working for Jackdaw, whose text color is gray. The most noticeable thing about Jackdaw is his personality, which stands in contrast to Rose's playful and light-hearted personality and Ren's firm but thoughtful tone. He appears blunt, cold, and intelligent, but also somewhat irritable. According to Halcyon, Jackdaw is elusive and methodical, and he tends to make decisions logically. However, he's also motivated by revenge in an unhealthy, emotional manner. This explains his antisocial and secretive attitude towards the protagonist. In the cutscene Payoff, we hear a brief conversation between the protagonist and Jackdaw. The protagonist seems uneasy about the situation ahead and about Jackdaw, but is unwilling to kill him, as shown when he points his gun at Jackdaw only to put it away. This suggests that either the protagonist is loyal to Jackdaw, or has a logical reason for not killing him. Since the protagonist is now working for Phoenix, it's hard to tell where their loyalties lie. This suggests the following scenarios. 1. Loyal to Halcyon, works for Phoenix. In this scenario, the protagonist acts as a double agent who performs mission for Phoenix, but secretly maintains ties to Halcyon. Halcyon knows about their missions in Phoenix, but Phoenix is unaware of the connection to Halcyon. Although my last theory was somewhat proven wrong, it still holds true that the side the protagonist fights for will win the war. Thus, Halcyon would win in this scenario. However, this scenario is unlikely. The protagonist's partnership with Jackdaw starts before the withdrawal and is still going by Payoff. They must also have a reason for not killing Jackdaw and Payoff, who they probably could have shot. Thus, the protagonist is probably not loyal to Halcyon. 2. Defects from Halcyon to Phoenix, works for Phoenix. In this scenario, the protagonist leaves Halcyon to become a full-fledged Phoenix operative. Both Halcyon and Phoenix will be aware of the protagonist switching sides. Once they join Phoenix, Halcyon will know of their betrayal. Hence, the protagonist will perform missions for Phoenix, while Halcyon will become an enemy. 3. Loyal to Phoenix, works for Halcyon and Phoenix. In this scenario, the protagonist performs mission for both Halcyon and Phoenix, but is loyal to Phoenix. They're a double agent who is infiltrating Halcyon and provides Phoenix with information and services. Although they're working with Phoenix, Halcyon is unaware of this. From Halcyon's point of view, the protagonist appears to be a loyal Halcyon operative. However, this deception can't last for the whole story. Halcyon will find out eventually. The effect this would have on the characters is interesting, though this scenario is unlikely. It would be difficult for the protagonist to hide their work with Phoenix from Halcyon. We know the protagonist starts working for Phoenix, but we don't know how they first met. After all, there's only 3 months between the deposit and the withdrawal. To predict how the connection started, we must look at every mission and cutscene one by one. Ashes is where Halcyon finds out about Phoenix, and it's likely an attack by Phoenix against Halcyon. This will be the first time the protagonist hears about Phoenix, but it's too early for a betrayal. Critical happens a few days after the deposit, and likely covers the contents of the Phoenix box. My theory is that the Phoenix box contains information on how to contact Phoenix. This may cause the protagonist to seek out Phoenix and eventually join its ranks. We don't know much about the Lake House, except it takes place between 2 important cutscenes. We don't even know if it's a Halcyon mission or a Phoenix mission. To find out more, we'll just have to wait. Dedication happens a month before the withdrawal. The protagonist will join Phoenix in this cutscene, unless they already joined in Critical or the Lake House. By this point, we'll know where the protagonist's loyalties lie, as well as their motivations. As we now see, the story of Enterpoint is more complex than we thought, and a Phoenix victory seems increasingly likely. One of the main questions ahead is what will become of the characters. When I thought Halcyon would win, this question wasn't all that important. It seemed Jackdaw would die, while the Halcyon operatives would survive. However, now that the situation for Halcyon looks grim, we must ask what will become of its operatives. Although Shadow has stated his unwillingness to kill off Rose, it seems logical for known Halcyon operatives to die in a Phoenix victory scenario. What will become of the Halcyon operatives after the war, assuming they live? We'll have to wait until the epilogue, which is a long way ahead.